You're listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. This is the podcast where I talk to successful women in entertainment and hear their stories. Our presenting sponsor continues to be the entertainment payroll company Extreme Reach. They have the most comprehensive suite of tools and services to support all areas of media and content creation, from tax incentive support to accounting software and payroll services. If you are creating content, you need them. Call them and tell them I sent you. Today I got to speak with the creators of the web series called All About Manos, Eden Young and Catherine Natale. Eden is an actor and a stand-up comedian turned creator, and Catherine is also an actor and a writer turned creator. They will tell us all about the show and how they came to do it. You can find All About Manos at allaboutmanostv.com and on a bunch of digital platforms, including Amazon Prime. They are killing it on the festival circuit also. We recorded remotely, and it must have been during Mercury Retrograde because it took us several tries on several platforms before we got something to work. So the audio quality could be better, but this conversation couldn't be. They are a delight. You can find us at theother50%.com for added features, photos, show notes, and the merchandise. And you can also listen on Apple Podcasts and all the podcast places. If you haven't already, check out the Kiss My Age show, which is where women of a certain vintage, grown-ups, talk about anything and everything, all the things that matter. It's hosted by Lasta Drakovic, Karen Samuelson, and me. All right, here's my conversation with Catherine Natale and Eden Young. Have a listen.
So normally when it's one person, I just start with, what do you do? But since there's two of you, I'm going to say, so you have this web series called All About Manos. And I want to talk to both of you, and let's talk about that show, and then let's go back to the beginning for each of you and your careers and how you kind of started. So let's start with Catherine.
Okay.
Tell us about the show.
Well, the show is about a woman who had one date in high school with a guy named Vic Manos, and he kissed her. And 20 years later, she's still on that same date. And
in her mind?
In her mind. So it's all her mind. Like, he's in love with her. She's in love with him. She needs to convince him that, she's the one. So she travels, and he happens to be an actor of all professions. He ends up in Los Angeles because initially they're from Jersey, and she ends up trying to stalk him, or she's obsessed with him. It's called obsession. And she wants to convince him that she's the one. So the date has never ended for her.
She's been living out this fantasy for the last 20 years.
Yes.
And then I assume hilarity ensues.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now tell me your part in this series.
Well, I play a hoarder, a nice, sweet hoarder named Jane Spot. And Jane Spot is from Jersey City, New Jersey, which is, I was born there. And she loves dolls. And she's married to Jay Spot, who is a porn editor. And they both have this fantasy about Los Angeles. So they try to move, and she wants to be with her best friend, Geraldine Santini, who is Eden. And so they make the trek out to Los Angeles. And Jane knows about her obsession and is her BFF, her conspirator,
enabler
to try to get Vic Manos, who she actually knows through high school too, because they both went to high school together.
That's so funny. Okay, Eden, let's bring you into the conversation.
Okay.
What did Catherine leave out of that description of the series?
She didn't leave much out. It was awesome in a nutshell what our story is about. But the other thing is it's about best friendship. Mm-hmm. It's about making the impossible possible. When everyone thinks you're just completely crazy and you decide you're going to do it anyway because you just know, right? This is what you have to do. Our tagline is, it's a fine line between determination and obsession. So me as Geraldine, I don't think I'm obsessed. I think I'm determined. I think I'm right, and how many of us, that's what happens in life. And all the people around you are like, you're crazy. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? And it's just, you're driven, right?
So you need a partner in crime.
You
right.
always, right. The friendship is like palpable throughout, which is really amazing. Like, they're always there for each other. So much so that Catherine's character, Jane Spot, and her husband move all the way to LA, from Jersey City.
I mean, that's sisterhood.
Right, isn't it? And I'm not going to tell you why, because that's part of the episode. It's part of the fun. but it would have happened anyway. And so it's pretty amazing, because I think friendship now is ever so much treasured and crucial.
Yeah. So let's talk about the making of the series. So this is a web series and you both are on it. Are you also the writers, directors, producers?
We're everything. We're absolutely everything.
Okay, let's talk about your journey of let's put on a show. How did that go?
So actually the series actually is about a woman I once knew back in New York, who I knew, who had an obsession with a guy, and his last name was Manos. And for years I thought, hey, she must have had some hot sex or something, like it must have been like sex that she couldn't like forget or something, because she kept obsessing about this guy. And then I go to find out that it's just one date that she had and he just kissed her.
Is this a true story?
This is actually a true story. So years have passed. I have not been in contact with this particular friend I once knew. And I said, it would be great to do it as a series, because there's always fantasy. Women have a lot of fantasies about, their knight in shining armor. I know that sounds cliche, but
the one that got away.
With the one that got away, we all been there.
Yeah.
And I said, this would be a great series to do, but in a comedic sense, not in a sad way, but in a comedic, harmless way. So I said to my friend Eden, hey, how about we do this web series? Let's write something. I don't know where it's going to go. This is my story. And that's how we teamed up. Now, I've known Eden for about 10 years now, prior to the web series. So we knew each other as actors. We worked together as actors. We had great chemistry together. We always could finish each other's sentences. So it was like a kinship we had, a special relationship we had as friends that said, maybe we should play this out a little bit more. Maybe we should write something. And that's how it all started.
Now, are you both in New York?
I'm from New York originally. I did live in Los Angeles for 6 years.
And where are you guys right now?
I'm in Vegas. I live in Vegas now.
Oh,
and I'm in LA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Eden, you thought, this is a good idea and we can do it?
Yeah, because, I don't like sitting around and waiting, and, it's not like the phone's just going to ring. I wish it would, but
it doesn't really work like that, does it?
No, it doesn't. And so it's, instead of, letting time dwindle by, I'd rather be creative. And so when Catherine, brought this idea to me, I said, oh yeah, absolutely. Let's do this. I thought it was a great idea.
And we had no idea what we were doing, in a sense, because I had written a comedy pilot, a woman's story about a woman who's unlucky in love. And I had a little bit of experience in pre-production and so forth. But this is our first web series. We've never done this before. So it was sort of like, okay, let's see how we test the waters and see how things go,
Well, how did you even figure out the production piece of it? Because had you produced anything before? Like, did you know all those moving parts?
No. Basically, I had that comedy pilot. I produced a sizzle reel, and that was like 20 minutes, and that's all I've done. So it took guts. I mean, it definitely took balls.
Fearlessness.
Yes, but that's what we need as women. We need to be fearless,
Oh, for sure. The time is now.
I think people have more power than they allow themselves. You know what I mean? Because I have a natural, really good business sense that kind of runs in my family, whether those who are in the business and even those who are not. That's just been kind of the thing. So it's like Catherine said, you just need to jump in. Once you jump in, it's kind of innate. What's interesting is Catherine and I have many conversations about this. When you do something this way, I think the true you, who you are, who you will be at every level of success, we all want to be successful, but who you are comes out. And that's who you will be then too. And so it was really refreshing, because Catherine and I are, we're good people and we want to treat people well. So we don't just want to create our content and then not be treating people well. That was like the first and foremost on our minds the whole time. Let's feed people. let's make sure, we were really fortunate to get an amazing cast and crew. And it's like, okay, we can't pay them, but we can do this, 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 and this.
So the process is as important as the final result, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And trust too, because, me and Eden trust each other. We've been friends for quite some time, but other people may not trust you, if they don't know you have experience, you don't have, we have credits as actors, but we had no experience as producers, like, major, so it's almost like, okay, so why should I give you my time?
For fun.
Yeah. And so we ended up getting a trust factor with all our crew in particular, because they work really hard. And, we said we were really upfront, and that's the thing. We were really upfront. We didn't promise them anything other than, look, it's a great little web series. If you want to be part of it, please, we'll feed you, we'll treat you really well, and we'll try to market the damn thing as much as possible.
Yeah, good. Now, did you do a crowdfunding for this already?
No, we spent our own money for the first 3 episodes.
So where are you in the process? How many do you have shot? How many do you have planned? Where are you in the process?
So we have 3 that are shot. That's kind of in the web series world. We consider that season 1, and we're working on season 2. And that, we will. We're planning on doing a crowdfunding because we're going to up the ante on the budget. This time we want the same crew, but we want to pay them, even if it's not, billions yet. But something, right? And, we're looking to do 4 to 5 more episodes. So that's the plan.
Now, who directed them?
Aha. Catherine, you want to talk about Danny?
Oh, okay. Danny Herb. He's a really amazing guy. We interviewed a bunch of directors, and we said, okay, they have to have the same vision we have. They have to get it. It's a quirky series. And they can't be, if we go really out there, they can't be afraid of it. We have to just, and we wanted to work with someone that got characters. They got the quirkiness of the characters. They got the story. And we interviewed a bunch of directors. And that's also the key, too. If I was going to make any kind of advice to people, is to get a really good director who understands the project. Not someone who's just not busy and they just want to be busy. Someone who really understands it, because that he has the voice and he's directing it. And so we got Danny, and he even helped us with shooting, because technically we don't know what we're doing. And and the DP, we had Mario Rodriguez. He's excellent. So we had only 1 camera. That's all we could afford. And he actually set up the studio for the detective scene. And he lent himself so much to our project. He actually made it even better, which is what you want.
Yeah, for sure. Now, tell me something. What is one thing you learned that you had no idea going in that you're so glad you know now?
That's a good one.
How much commitment is needed after the filming?
Aha, yeah.
Because I remember going through all the footage with my husband, and he said, so where do you want to go with this? And I had no idea. And he's the editor, so he was not on set. And I was like, I don't, because a show is like, you have to retell the story once you edit. And I remember looking at it, and I was like, I don't know how to retell it again.
Like, we didn't think that far.
Yeah, we just got done with the shooting. We just got done with the shooting, and now we have to retell it, and what's the vibe of it, and whatever. So what happened was, we waited to edit the episodes. We started with the trailer, because the trailer is quicker, and it was quicker scenes. And our graphics guy, Ben, designed our little poster, and he actually did the opening for us. And I said, that's it. And I was able to get the momentum of the show. And then Eden started getting the momentum of the show. And then the show was like, when we first started writing it, we didn't even know what the concept was, all we knew is this story. Mm-hmm. And then the music started happening and everything. So it's like a lot of decisions that I didn't even realize until it actually became like, now it's on you, and right, Eden?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the rhythm took on after the editing. I mean, that's where it all really happens. And it's like what Catherine was saying, you're at the mercy of the director and the editor. So choose them well. We were really lucky because Peter Papagiorgio's, Catherine's husband, is incredibly talented. So we were covered on both ends. And then, like Catherine was saying, once we really got kind of the flavor, the rhythm, and the momentum, he was able to edit extremely quickly, actually, and get that story restrung and retold really, really well.
Well, that was handy to be living with an editor.
Yeah, and he's really good in music. And he belongs to Video Blocks, which is a program. You have to buy a yearly fee to it, but you own the actual rights to the music.
Okay.
Once you purchase it, you own those rights. So it was better than actually trying to find music, because music can be really expensive.
Yeah.
So with that, a library of music. And that was another thing that was crazy. I mean, I sing, I love music, but how do you figure out a theme of a show that
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, it's like,
it's not musical theater.
Right. So you have to have guts. You got to get balls. So
yeah. So is your husband a porn editor?
It's funny you say that. He was. Okay, I'll tell you a funny story. And because
I was making a joke. All right.
Because this is internet, I can say this. Okay. So when I moved to LA, we had jobs, like survival jobs, okay? Yeah. And we were living in this really cramped 2-bedroom in North Hollywood. And he got in touch with this guy that was a porn producer. And he said, yeah, if you edited these porn movies, $200 a pop, you could do 6 of them and make a lot of money, and it's cash, okay?
It's a living.
So, all right. So I had one computer on one side of the room, and he had another computer on another side of the room. And I would go to Actors Access and start submitting myself for jobs as an actor. And then on the other side of the room, they would be like, and then boom, 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 boom. I was like, and so it was just like, it was crazy.
Be like, what are we doing?
Yeah, like what has our life turned into? But, hey, everybody has to make a living, so. But yeah, that's how I got the idea of J-Spot being a porn editor. And if you look at the J-Spot, Christopher Chan, who's wonderful in it, he's actually has done a lot of TV work lately. He's so not what you would think as a porn editor. And neither is my husband. So I figured, what the hell?
That's hilarious. So, both of you have an acting background. So, Eden, how did you get into acting in the first place? Did you always know that's what you wanted to do?
I did, yeah.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Los Angeles and Queens, New York. A little bit of both, the best of both coasts.
Yeah, you sound a little more Queens than Los Angeles, I'll say.
Yeah, everyone says that. They're like, where are you from? And I'm like, Los Angeles via Queens. They're like, we knew it. And I'm glad, because there's something about being from back east that gets in your DNA and blood, and it's good. It's good for everything. It's good for the process and the journey and the long, staying in it. But it's interesting because when I was really young, my mom did, like all moms, she was creative and an actress. My mom was a pretty well-known TV writer here in Los Angeles. And then my real father was an actor and a musician, and my stepfather's a director. So it's kind of all around me. But what's interesting...
Yeah, you couldn't help it.
No, I couldn't help it, but they didn't want it. They're like, why do you want to do this?
They knew too much.
Exactly, the typical answer. But I did. And it ended up, what was great is because at that point in their lives and careers, they didn't have a lot of money. So, to save on babysitting and things like that, I ended up doing theater. My mom would throw me on stage. She was like, well, at least I know where you are. Yeah. So it was great. And I loved it. So that was my beginning. And I have to say, Julie, not even just for the artistic, the acting, the creative sense, but just kind of to bring it to current day. It helped me be social. I'm fearless with people and I love people. So it was really, I thank my mom and my stepdad every day because it was a blessing.
Well, I think it exposes you to so many different types of people and gives you such a deep level of empathy that, you don't get at science camp. I mean, you might get it at science camp. I don't know.
Yeah. Like no one seems different. People are like, and I'm like, no, we're all people.
We're all people having a human experience here.
Yeah.
Exactly. So.
Yeah.
Catherine, what about you? What was your background?
Well, I was a really shy kid. I could draw since I was a kid. And I was very shy. My mother was in the business. She was a jazz singer. And she worked with a lot of different people. And she would tell me, Catherine, sing. And I'd be like, oh, no, like I wasn't really into singing. And I was so shy that my mother was like putting me in dancing classes, anything that I could
force you out of it.
Force me out of it, because I must be insane, right? And so I got the acting bug through her, kind of, but then I ended up going into high school acting, because it was really quick credits and it was easy. Everyone said it was easy to go into acting. Well, I remember being so shy that I would be shaking, and I failed acting class in high school. I got like D's, But there was something about whenever I would see actors rehearsing and I would be painting the sets, that I really enjoyed the dialogue and the stories and how the plays would affect me. So I ended up going to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts as a kid, and I got a little bit more confidence. And then I started doing off-Broadway, and then off-Broadway, and then off-Broadway, and then I started doing some TV and some film, both in LA and in New York. So it was a journey. It's been a journey, but I can't see myself not doing it. It's the arts kind of saved me.
And once it's in you, it's in you. Now, how did you two meet? Was it in class? Was it on a job? How did you meet?
Well, you want to tell her the story, or?
Yeah, I think it's okay. So Shelley Desai, who plays Mr. Yip in our web series, he's incredible. I can't say enough about him. First of all, he's a first-rate, talented comedic actor, but also he's just a wonderful human being. And he used to host this workshop that was incredible. And it was just a playground for actors to come and act, and to keep kind of, to keep rooted, to keep yourself.
Keep your chops up.
Keep your chops up, like they say. And then, obviously, too, if anyone was a writer or something and they wanted to hear their material, well, you had a plethora of actors that were, ready there to play. So it was really great. So Catherine and her husband came, and that's how we met. And then that's how we started kind of connecting and doing a little bit of work. And then it kind of all began because Catherine needed to get some real work done. And so her husband said, we have a scene, let's do this. And then you can have some real. And then we're like, okay. And then we realized just how great our chemistry was, how much fun we were having, and how productive we could be in a small amount of time. And so that's when, to piggyback off, what Catherine had said, that's when she said, let's do something. And then she brought the idea and we started doing it.
What I love about Eden, she's just so real, and she really cares, and that helps. I'm very direct, being from New York, and very real. And she's when she commits to something, she does it. And that's what I enjoy. And I honor that because a lot of people don't always follow through. And I would say if you're going to do a web series or any project, you have to follow through and really know that it's the long run. And, no such thing as big fame at first.
Oh, yeah. Half the battle is showing up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us where to find your web series.
So you can find us on a bunch of media platforms. If you go to allaboutmanostv.com, allaboutmanostv.com, Manos is Manos, tv.com. You can see us on a bunch of digital platforms. We actually are also in England. And English people, they got us. I don't know. And you can see all the festivals we've been in. We just launched a year ago, so it's pretty amazing. Never in our wildest dreams we thought this was going to happen. We just thought, okay, we'd just be on YouTube, but we just plowed through and people just got the show. So if they go to allaboutmanostv.com, you'll see us. You'll see all our social media too.
That's so cool. Now, I want to hear from you guys. What do you make of the state of women in this business right now?
It's a great question.
I think it's better. We're not there yet, but I think it's better. I think because of technology, social media has given us power to connect to different groups, different people, to be able to have a bigger reach than we did before as creators, women creators. I think we have still a long ways to go. There isn't enough creator comedy writers that are women. And
because women aren't funny, right?
Right. We have to always be nagging or a bitch or whatever, which, is life, but it's not the whole picture. So I think that the more people use web series, women in particular, I think the more we'll get that notice. I would love to see more women writers. I would love to see more women creators. I would love to see more women directors in big productions as opposed to smaller ones.
Yeah.
We still have to push through that arena a little bit more.
What do you think, Eden?
I think, with everything that's happened this year, I think women are amazing. And I think we really have a firm beginning on transforming some deep poison into medicine, whether it's creatively, artistically, or even socially. I know me, how I respond is going to be creatively, that's how I like to respond to things, and other women, they like to be very active in what's going on out there. And I think that's great too. So there's a million places where we can be to have our voice heard and where we can create. And I think there's no holds bar. And I know he's not a woman, but Jay-Z says it best. It's the wild, wild west right now, artistically. Yeah. And that opened up, and he said that once the internet really started and social media started to explode. And I love that because we can get on that ride. And I actually think we ride it really well. And the thing is, what's really great is the beauty about women and the true feminist is we never exclude the men. We just take our voice, we let it shine. And that's different. And I think that's really powerful,
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And has this, getting back to your series for a second, has this opened other doors for you?
Yeah, all these digital platforms we're now on, of course, they're mostly run by men, but there are relationships that I never had before that I would not have had if I had not created something. And I think in today's world, if we're really serious about content and, pushing the envelope, I think women just have to get out there and do it and not care what people think or whatever their idea is. They should just do it and not hold back because men don't.
Yeah, exactly. And I see women doing it. So many women are doing web series and putting their content out there. I think it's so exciting.
I think when you use humor to get your message across, it's the best remedy.
Well, it's so disarming.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we need it in life. I mean, we've always needed it, but I think now we need it ever, even more so. And And it's really interesting. The other night I was at my survival job, but what was interesting, I've had so many people who don't know me tell me how funny I am. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything. But it's really interesting. And I'm like, great. So I know I'm in the right, on the right path.
You're onto something.
Yeah, because it's important and people need it. They want it. I mean, it's really.
Oh, we need to laugh, especially now. Oh my God.
Right? Yeah. So I think it's not to be poo-pooed and put in the corner. It's to be, shined on for sure.
It's vital lifeblood.
Yeah. Yeah.
What advice do you two have for women who are just starting out in their careers?
Oh, I'll go.
Okay,
this kind of piggybacks on what you just asked as well. Stay in it and do it. I really loved the interview you had with Ellen Gerstein. I think she's incredible.
Wasn't that delicious?
Yeah.
It was beyond delicious. I could eat it every day.
Yeah, me too.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner and dessert. And she said some things that have been told to me by some other, people, is that you just have to stay in it. And if this is your love and your passion. And I love how she said that's what, when that doctor said, well, you need to do the acting because that's what success is doing what you love. I was like, wow, that's great. That's very powerful. And there is no waiting. I think there's nothing to wait for, but there's also, like we've been saying throughout this podcast, there's nothing to hold you back unless it's yourself. So don't hold yourself back. Yeah. Because, I'm at a different stage in my career than Catherine and than a lot of people, but that's okay. There's a place for everyone. I just got signed on by an agent, and that took some time, but it's like,
congratulations.
Thank you. And I love them and they were worth the wait, It's like, we're going to have a long-term relationship. And I'm like, this is exactly all the things that, people do their lists for the agent, the man in their life, the lover, whatever. And when you see everything on your list and then some, you're just like, wow, okay. So I think that's really important, that you have to stay in it and stay motivated no matter what it looks like around you. You know what I'm saying? That's so crucial. It's so important.
Yeah, it's a long game.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a calling. It really is. Because there's a lot of people out there who'll say no. And even as an actor, you go to auditions and you're all prepared and everything. And it could be just the fact that you look like someone's wife, It's
that's always the example. I look like that guy's ex-wife.
Yeah,
and you don't have a chance if that's what
you don't have a chance. That's what I'm saying. So how can you control that? You have no control. So as an actor, but as a creator, if you follow through, you have control. Mm-hmm. And at this point in time, with what technology we have, there's no excuse not to do it. Which is great. Because I'm a little older, I guess I know what it was like back when you would have to wait for the phone to ring, for your beeper to ring.
Check your service.
Check your service. Oh my God, what is it? Oh, it's background work.
Yay!
So, it's, I think I would just say to people young, not to rush it. It'll take more than 6 months. I see people say, oh, I'm going to be famous in 6 months. And if I'm not famous in 6 months, then I'm just going to let it. Well, then you're in the business for the wrong reason.
Right. Or for sure by 30.
Or well, you're too old by then.
All right. That's the next horizon.
But that's what I would advise, is just to follow through and believe in yourself, and it's hard. It's hard. People will say no. Family will say won't support you. There's a lot of negative, but you have to turn it into a positive. You have to turn that no into a positive, no matter what. You have to think on the bright side as opposed to negative, which we all do.
Now, what do you guys do outside of the business that feeds your soul and keeps you going?
Well, I draw. And that also helps too. I've never stopped drawing. And I love merchandise. I love getting merchandise and trying to figure out what to do with it.
What do you mean?
I have a Zazzle store. So Zazzle.com, it's merchandise, and they give you merchandise and you design whatever you've draw or whatever image you have that you've done or whatever. So
I'm writing that down.
I'm ready. Zazzle.com. And it's where, the creator, I'm always creating. It's like I just keep creating. And what else do? I love animals. I love their how they look at you and love you and unconditionally. And I hope for the world to be like that.
Yeah. How about you, Eden?
Oh my God. Well, I love life. That's definite. So first off, on a spiritual level, I practice Nichiren Daishonin's Buddhism. I'm surrounded by many people of all walks of life, including very creative people because we're in Los Angeles. So I chant a lot, this mantra, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, for me to keep me in the game, keep my best self fine-tuned in the game, and also penetrate the world. That's one thing I do a lot of. I love to dance. I have a dance background. And so even if I'm not in class, that's just something that just kind of shows up. I love music. I think music I love all the arts. A day at the museum is amazing to me. And photography. I like to do a lot of photography. So like on a lot of my personal Instagram and Facebook and stuff, I'm playing a lot with imagery. Sometimes I'll couple it with music. That's just something I always seem to do. And I have an extensive background in, believe it or not, cosmetics, makeup. I love beauty. And I think I went into that thinking, that might be a better avenue and a better job, and because, as an actor, when you have an amazing imagination, you think in 3D, you think in image, you think in fashion, you think in food, you think in you hear me, it's everything. All your senses are involved. Mm-hmm. So at one point in my journey, very early on in life, I thought, that was my calling. That's not really the acting. And it turns out, no, I was actually... what's interesting, Julie, is everywhere I am, I'm acting. That's what it is. And people are always like, you're an actress, aren't you? You do stand-up and all this. And I did stand-up for a while. So my brain...
How was that?
Oh my God, I loved it. I did not think I was going to love it so much because people always said, you're funny, you should do stand-up. And I'm like, but I have to write stuff and do stuff. And I took a class with Joe Falzerano, and that was really great. And he teaches you just to hone in on your persona and write. And I didn't think people were going to really get me or like me, but they did. And I thought, wow, okay. So
what is more fun than that?
I know.
It's really, really fun. When you captivate an audience, because it's a dance, and even though you're the one that's talking, it's a two-way street. I'm tingling right now. It's pretty incredible, so yeah.
I think terrifying to start, but once you get in the room and get that reaction, there must be nothing like it.
Julie, I just am crazy. It was the scariest thing for me when I would go, and if I got booked at the Comedy Store on Sunset, what made me more nervous was parking. I was like, everyone's like, your set. Are you nervous about your set? I'm like, no, about the fucking meter.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. That's a totally real thing.
Yeah, I love being on stage, when the audience, you can actually feel their vibe. Especially if you do a New York stage, and they're watching every moment you do, and they're on the edge of their seats, and anything you say can affect them is the greatest high. It's better than drugs, better than anything.
And isn't it weird how you know that experience that you're describing, and if somebody films that stage performance, it never translates that in the room. It's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. But, that's the thing with theater. It's gone as soon as it comes.
Yeah, you got to be there.
Yeah.
What is next for you guys?
Well, we're going to start writing again in December. So we're going to start writing the next script, which is the comeback script. And then we're going to try to do 3 more scripts. And once we do that, then we're going to start doing the crowdfunding sometime in early spring and round up the troops again. and see what the impossible possible could happen. And we're going to have better locations. We would like to get a distribution deal. We were offered already, but we decided, for 3 episodes, we had more to tell, and we wanted just to spread the word about the show. So once we get more episodes, we'll go back and see where that takes us. So that's what we would like. We like maybe a distribution deal after those episodes are done and out there, bigger locations, better sets, more, maybe celebrities coming on. We don't know. And we're going to try to do that. And then that'll be it for the series.
And Eden, what's next for you?
So, ditto, like what Catherine was saying for our project, but then I'm still on my quest. I want to, like many an actor out there, break through in film. I know where my path is definitely the indie film industry, and I'm in love with that. So, since we can't, it's not the time or the era or the century of being discovered, that's why I'm, creating as much and getting myself out there and doing as much as I can to hopefully, you meet your tribe. I want to get in with my creative tribe and then really, hopefully blast off. And then another thing I didn't mention before, I'm in love with languages. That just seems to be something I pick up really quick. So, I've been studying a lot, and I'm hoping to work with some creators definitely, I think from Mexico, I think they're incredible. I think we're really fortunate with the directors and the writers and the people who've been creating film, and so I would like to get connected into all of that. So
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, keep in touch with me, you guys. So when you do your crowdfunding, I can let the listeners know where to jump in and support you.
I appreciate that.
Now, what did I not ask you that I should have asked you about?
Well, first of all, how much fun was this, Julie? Amazing.
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah. We had a little trouble getting going at the beginning.
I know. But I hope it was a good experience. It was great talking to you. You're so wonderful.
It was so fun to have you guys on. It's great to meet you. And I think just to tell our listeners, we're doing this remotely. And I think this is the 4th remote format that we tried. We'd been through it by the time we said hello. So
we went down to the whole thing,
We'll see how the quality comes out. Fingers crossed.
Okay.
Right. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much, Julie.
Thank you
for the opportunity.
You've been listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. I'd like to thank Catherine Natale and Eden Young for sharing their stories. And special thanks to Jay Rowe, Danny Rosner, and Allison McQuaid for the music. Please find us on your favorite podcast provider and leave a review. And of course, on our website, theother50%.com, all spelled out in letters, for added features, bios of our guests, and the merch. You can also follow us on all the social media platforms. And also, go subscribe to the Kiss My Age show. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.